Hello and welcome. It's a real pleasure to be here today, and I'm here with Astrid Schomaker. She is the Executive Secretary of the Convention for Biological Diversity. And in these times, we're often talking about a lot of challenges, but Astrid here has had a lot of successes right now behind her, with her and her brilliant team and all the member states. So welcome to Nairobi. I wanted to ask you a little bit, because you had this COP and you saw some major successes. You've gabbled over the Cali-Rome period of COPs. You gabbled something on indigenous people. You gabbled something on funding. You gabbled something on digital sequencing information. What does it all mean? Tell us a little bit about these successes.
Yeah, I think we really wanted to demonstrate that environmental multilateralism can work, and the parties came with that mindset to Rome, and that's why we managed to land difficult issues even on resource mobilization. I think what it means for our convention is that the parties gave themselves the means to succeed in implementing the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. They recognized we need more resources, they recognized we need a specific strategy, and they developed that strategy. They also recognized we need to be able to measure where we are, and that's our next COP17, our global review. So we managed to agree how to do that in practice and what are the indicators. And they also recognized, importantly, that biodiversity, to a large extent, is under the stewardship of indigenous peoples and local communities. So we managed to elevate their voices, bring them into a new subsidiary body, and at the same time also focus more on their concerns. So I think all that brought together means a real win for nature and for people.
So indigenous people will now, quote unquote, have a seat at the table, is that right?
Yes, more than ever before. So they have their own subsidiary body where we can really focus on their challenges, but also better understand what they can bring to us in terms of how they approach nature and climate change as one crisis, and how they've been living for millennia in harmony with nature, which is our 2050 objective.
And this maybe leads me to my next question, because we know that you and I sort of know that nature makes the world go round. It links to jobs, it links to development and growth, it links to well-being, it links to good health. Can you unpack that a little bit for us so that we can see what nature's services provide to the rest of us?
Yeah, I think you say we know, and I think many people know, but I think still we need to do more. So we need to take nature almost out of the nature corner. It's not only just having protected areas, it's really understanding that nature, as you said, underpins our economies, provides jobs. And it's not what we say, it's what the World Economic Forum says. And they talk about the jobs that nature provides, they talk about the investments in nature, how they pay off. And of course, we have a whole range of ecosystem services that are at risk because biodiversity is wobbling, basically. And that ranges from pollination to fresh water and, of course, to climate stability. So all of that is absolutely necessary. And it's not just us saying it, it's science saying that. We have the IPBES, Intergovernmental Panel for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, coming out with 2 brilliant assessments on nexus, looking at nature, health, climate in one bit, but also at the need for transformative change if we want to maintain all of that.
I mean, it's so basic that we tend to take it for granted, right? It rains, or the bees do their business, and that's why we have apples, kind of thing. But we need to understand that if we don't protect it, we won't be able to have those services. Now, there are a number of other COPs happening. And then, of course, we have the big climate conference of parties taking place in Brazil later this year. You've been working a lot on sort of how do we work in the interface between and amongst these various conventions. Can you tell us a little? There's this word synergy, but what does it all really mean?
Yeah, I think synergy is moving from concept to practice. So we've been talking about that for 20 years or so. And now if we look at the decisions taken, for example, at COP16, parties have said, well, it's a good concept, but it also means it has to happen at national level. So we are moving forward, for example, with a process of technical consultation to understand where exactly are the synergies between the climate, the Desertification Convention, and the Convention on Biological Diversity. And that very often translates itself into national planning processes that need to be more integrated, where we have separate focal points, sometimes in separate ministries. And our parties recognize that, and they want to work together with us to come with concrete proposals so we can overcome that. And the other conventions, like pollution and all of that, our framework recognizes that pollution is a big driver for biodiversity loss. So of course we need to work with the pollution conventions to see how they can contribute to us, but also what we can do for them. And there are a lot of processes between the secretariats that are being intensified, and that I think is a good and overdue thing.
So all of this work is really at times very hard, long days, long nights, no weekends, lots of travel, to get your 196 parties to come to a common understanding of the way forward. So I have to ask you, in these complex geopolitical times as well, what motivates you? What keeps you going?
Well, I think there's no alternative to what we're doing. I think the world needs multilateralism. I think our parties agree to that. And I also think it's such an exciting moment because we know what it takes. We have the science at our fingertips. We have excellent scientific bodies, and we have the mobilization of civil society. And we saw that at COP16 at larger groups that we've ever had and much more diverse groups. And I think that was so important that we have bankers come, we have business come, we have finance ministers, we have agriculture ministers, and they all understand that nature sort of ties them together. And they all understand that something has to be done, that you need to invest in nature, and that investment in nature is an investment of our common future.
And all of these issues, what we will try to do, and which is why I'm so delighted that most of the executive secretaries of the multilateral environmental conventions are actually coming here to Nairobi in December, where we will have the United Nations Environment Assembly and where there will be an MEA Day. So as we forge forward with environmental multilateralism, let me give a big, big clap for you, Astrid, and for the CBD team, and of course of the parties to the convention. And Susanna Mohammed, the president, has shown that multilateralism delivers. And of course, we very much hope and are pleased that at the United Nations Environment Assembly, you, as well as your colleagues, the other executive secretaries, will be here where we can weave more of that synergy space. We will have the MEA days here in beautiful Nairobi at the United Nations Environment Assembly. So to you, Astrid, huge thanks for coming to join us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.